Alright, everybody, and welcome to Remnant from the Ashes. Before we get started, we have with us a very special guest by the name of Ralph Sims Gaming.
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Ralph Sims. I do reviews and playthroughs. You guys can always come and check out the channel. I'm usually just on YouTube, so slide through. And I want to say thank you for Blazze, for us to be able to collaborate on this review together. I had a ton of fun playing.
After the video, be sure to get down in the description and check out Ralph Sims Gaming's YouTube channel, as he's doing a lot of really good reviews over there, a couple playthroughs, and it's a ton of fun. So, with that said, let's get started. So what is Remnant from the Ashes? Well, it's probably best described as a Souls game with guns. It's a third-person shooter as well as a RPG. A ton of fun, and with the nostalgia from seeing the success of the second game coming out, I wanted to take a look back and see where it all started. So, whenever you start up a brand new game, there is of course the option to create a character. This character creator is actually not bad. They give you the opportunity to choose from your hair color, your facial features, as well as your hair. There's a ton of different head types you can choose, from feminine to masculine, and your skin tone, of course, eye color, scars, voice, and then you get to choose your game mode. Hardcore characters are permadeath, and then you can choose the difficulty, which can get pretty brutal. However, if you're a Souls fan, you'll fully understand what that means.
Let's talk about the story. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic Earth, and the few remaining survivors are fighting against an evil called the Root. The Root has taken over pretty much everything, and when traveling through the world, you can see how much of the world has been destroyed. Your character is tasked to put an end to the Root, and to do so by fighting multiple bosses and earning gear and weapons to put an end to the invasion.
What can we do when our last hope fails? That you must discover. Our last hope sailed this sea before you, in search of an end to the beasts that have hunted us for generations. An end was found, or so we thought, when the dragon rose into the sky like a phoenix, blazing in flames of agony. But our hero never came home. Only the storm, the beasts, the unshakable dread that something had twisted and turned. Your journey will not be easy. Storm swirls round the dragon's tower like a shroud. The dragon may be dead, but in its ashes, I fear something else has awoken. You will fight for every step. You must reach the tower, learn what became of our warrior, face what lurks within. When our last hope fails, another shall take its place. So long as we have breath.
So, after a brief intro, we are taken to the tutorial island with nothing much more than a sword. They'll give you the basic instructions: crouching, sprinting, dodging, swinging, and all the vaulting. After completing the tutorial, we find ourselves once again with no weapons, and it's time to start meeting some NPCs and begin our journey.
The game gives you a main hub to level your gear, buy items, and teleport to many different levels through a giant crystal that's in the room. Leveling up your gear relies on you getting resources like iron and other materials, so that way you can plus your weapon and your gear that you plan on wearing. The other way to get gear is from killing the many different bosses this game has to offer, and there's a lot of them, and each of them have their own mods that they drop so that you can attach it to your weapon.
After meeting with a few of the NPCs, we can now choose our archetype. So there's the ex-cultist, which does mid-ranged attacks. We get a hatchet, we get a nice healing aura, or we can choose the scrapper, which has a shotgun and a scrap hammer, and allows you to set enemies on fire with its mod. Now, the hunter specializes in longer range combat. It's a nice repeater pistol as well as a hunter's mark, which increases critical strike chance on marked targets. I think for now, we're going to go ahead and choose this one. After having the opportunity to speak with all the NPCs, you can now leave Ward 13. Simply walk up to the crystal, place your hands upon it, which also acts as your Souls-like campfires, restoring all of your health, your ammunition, and even your dragon hearts, which top up your health. But we can now travel outside. And here we are in our very first biome. A very good looking post-apocalyptic city. Looks really good, this game, despite it coming out quite a while ago. So, as you're making your way out into the city, be sure that you're checking all of the hidden side paths, because you're going to find things like this. While iron doesn't seem like it would be something that would be overly useful, it is used to get you some pretty good upgrades on your weapons. You will also find crates and things that you can break open, which sometimes will drop money as well as items for crafting. You're going to want to grab all of these up as well. But it's not just crafting materials and money that you'll come across. There's also that blue light right up there, which is a trait book. And traits act as your RPG mechanic. Currently, whenever you first start, you have a couple different ones that you can choose from, but as you gain experience points, you'll be able to get even more, and as you complete certain challenges within the game, you'll unlock a ton more down the road. So here we are a bit further in the game. As you can see, there are a ton of different things you can get, including rings and necklaces and new types of armor. And clicking on any one of these will show you all of the ones that you currently have available to you. Each one of them has their own stats, whether it be resistance to bleeding, fire, radiation, rot, corrosion, shock, and frost. There's a ton of different armor types to keep you pretty well protected. Now, there's also a number of healing agents that you're going to be able to pick up, crafting components, different quest items, but not just armor. There is also a ton of different melee weapons, a ton of primary weapons, and a ton of sidearms. A lot of these are very powerful, some of which have mods that are unique to that specific weapon. As you can see here, we have the hive gun. You'll get a nice little bubble that you can then fire down a swarm of bees. Anything passing through this is going to have a bad day.
Let's talk about the combat. Combat is pretty much how it is if you've played Elden Ring or any Dark Souls game, just with guns. It's quick, and you have to be on your toes at all times, especially on higher difficulties. Bosses hit hard, Some of them will one-shot you if you're not careful. For the gun combat, you also get these mods that you can attach to your gun. There's so many different mods, from ones that will summon dogs and other creatures, and then some will add different elemental damage to every shot. Gear also plays a big role, and you will want to make sure that you upgrade both and collect resources throughout the world. I really enjoyed a lot of the boss fights, and some of them were really hard until you figured out the mechanics for the game. Now, this is definitely the best mix of Dark Souls type gameplay with guns, and it's executed so well.
The next thing we wanted to go over is the multiplayer. Now, having the opportunity to play with another player during the game is a ton of fun. Yes, it increases the difficulty, but if you are knocked down, there is the option of being picked back up by your teammate, which is amazing. So, with a basic introduction to the game out of the way, it's now time to move into the pros and cons of the game. Pro: the art design looks really good. There are a number of different biomes that you can go through. Each one feels pretty unique, as well as a ton of different little dungeons. So from the cityscape that we've seen earlier to massive desert cities that have been pretty run down, to even some aircrafts that have been taken down by the root, and some really cool underground areas like subways and temples and pyramids. The game has a lot to offer visually. Also, on the positive side, keeping in mind that I'm running a 3070, an i9, and 64 gigs of RAM, I haven't had any FPS drops or hitching or anything like that. Keep in mind, your experience could differ from mine as far as that's concerned. On the con side is the multiplayer, unfortunately. Now, I did have an opportunity to work with Ralph Sims Gaming whenever we were recording this review, and we had a couple issues where the connection to one another would crash out and we would be forced to reconnect or relaunch the game in order to play together. Did the game break?
No.
You're running in place on my screen.
You saw I'm running in place?
Yeah. Now, whether that was on the game's side or one of us had a connection issue still is yet to be determined. However, this has been a known issue since the game first came out. I'm hoping the second game has received much better marks in that regard. On the negative side, however, is the consumable usage. So while you can increase the speed at which you use your consumables, they do occasionally get you into situations where you're locked into place or visually impaired to the point where you're no longer able to see a boss. I think this is more of a me issue than the game issue. I believe it's intended to work the way it is, specifically to make sure that, well, you don't want to be getting hit in the first place.
Let's talk about the cons. Well, to be honest, I don't really have any issues with the game. I mean, the story was a little boring at times, but still interesting enough to keep me engaged. And I did have a couple crashes, but other than that, I didn't really have any complaints. Now, it's not a perfect game, but from summoning dogs to taking out giant mutated monkeys, I give Remnant from the Ashes a 9 out of 10.
Overall, how would I rate the game? Definitely around an 8, especially considering how much of a great time I had when recording the multiplayer session, and the visuals, the gunplay, and overall, the amount of replayability. But with that, we have come to the end of the video. So before you go, get down in the description, check out the other media links, likes, follows, subs, all that fun stuff, and then head on over to Ralph Sim Gaming's channel and check out all of his wonderful reviews and just general awesome content. And a huge shout out and thank you to him for giving me the opportunity to work with him on this review. I've had a ton of fun, but until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, stay healthy out there, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye everybody.